Everyone, this is Nitika and I welcome you all again to our Bulldoze Topic of the Week series. And as this image depicts, I am sure you have guessed it that today we are going to cover the Nobel Prize winners of 2022. So the entire list of winners is with us. Now let's get to know more about these winners and their achievements for which they have received the Nobel Prize, which is the most coveted and prestigious prize in this world. So let's get started. Speaking of this prize, that is Nobel Prize, as you know, we know that this year it is awarded in 6 distinct areas, and they are chemistry, physics, medicine, also called as physiology, economics, literature, and peace. So in these key 6 distinct areas, the Nobel awards are being given, right? So why this is named as Nobel Prize? So there is definitely a history, there is a story behind it. So understanding the story behind the Nobel Prize, the famous Swedish businessman, chemist, philanthropist, inventor named Alfred Nobel, whose name is so prominent in the times of in the 19th century and even till now, that his name is basically associated with this particular award. It is said that he himself has written in his will that there should be an award which is so prestigious and coveted in itself, that the Alfred Nobel is remembered year after other after this particular series of award. So as suggest, this particular award is named after Alfred Nobel. He died in the year 1896 and he wrote in his will in the year 1895, wherein it was specified that his fortune to be used to create a series of prizes for those who confer the greatest benefits on the mankind. Actually, there is a very interesting story behind it. So what happened was that Alfred Nobel's brother Ludwig has actually died. But because of his invention of dynamite, people and even journalists, the media, they had started publishing, the report of his brother's death as his death. So it was believed that Alfred Nobel has died. So media and press, they have actually started negatively publicizing his death. So this has given a kind of jolt to Alfred Nobel, that when he will pass away, people are going to negatively remember him for a negative reason, for a very catastrophic reason, which is why Alfred Nobel has decided to do something for good, for mankind, for humanity, that he must be remembered every year with a noble cause. And this is how this award has been coined as the Nobel Prize. And it is said that 94% of his assets are being used for this particular award series. Initially, he has started 5 prestigious awards in the 5 distinct areas. The economics, the Nobel Prize in economics, was later on added in the series in the year 1968. Right. So economics was it was earlier not the part of the Nobel series. From 1968 onwards, even the economic sciences were included with the Nobel Prize list. Right. So this was technically for the first time the Nobel Prizes were given in the year 1901. Right. So this was a brief history about the Nobel Prize and how Alfred Nobel was moved to start this series of these awards. Now coming to the list of committees which present this particular award. So even you must be wondering that if if Alfred Nobel has actually written the committees also in its will. Absolutely yes. So even in his will he has actually testamented that a particular distinct area will be given by this particular committee. So we have 5 committees with us. One is the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, which is given the charge of presenting the award of physics in the field of physics and chemistry. Then we have Nobel Assembly at the Karolinska Institute, which is given the charge to present the Nobel Prize for medicine in the field of medicine or physiology. Then we have Swedish Academy, which will be giving for literature, Norwegian Nobel Committee, which will be giving for the Peace Award, and lastly, as you know, that economics, because it was later included in this list in the 1968, it is given by Sveriges Riksbank, which is again a Swedish reserve bank, right? So this is particularly added later in this series, right? So these prize ceremonies, they ideally, they take place annually, and whenever a person or an organization, they receive this particular award, so what all do they get? So they get a gold medal. So there will be a gold medal which will be given along with a diploma certificate and a cash prize, right? So it is said that the Nobel Prize, of course, the winners, so there will be a maximum sharing of up to 3 persons, 3 individuals. However, in the case of Peace Prize, it can be given to an organization as well. So which is why even you have noticed that even UNICEF, and this year also, the Peace Prize has been shared by 3 individual units. One is the Belansky, and then second one we have is one Ukrainian organization, and then the third one we have is a Russian organization. So these 3 individual units have actually won the Peace Prize. So the Peace Award is the one which can be shared between the organizations. However, speaking of other prizes, they can be shared up to 3 individual persons, right? Only up to 3 individual persons, right? So moving on to the next, let's talk about the list of the winners in the year 2022 now. So the first one we have in our list is the physics winner. So the physics winner for the year 2022 is awarded to John F. Clauser. So these are the names which are associated with the respective images. So he is Alan Aspect. Then we have John F. Clauser, and then the last one we have is Anton Zillinger, right? So he is the Anton Zillinger, he is the John Clauser, and he is the Alan Aspect, and they have they won this award because of their works in the quantum mechanics. I'm sure आप में से बहुत ऐसे लोग होंगे who have a bit of idea about this branch of physics, that is the quantum physics. So quantum physics is a physics which deals with the movement and the interaction of various bodies, and of course this particular branch of physics, it describes the behavior of particles, the atoms, the electrons and protons, and almost everything in the molecular or the submolecular realm. So even there is a term which was widely used while discussing these physics winners, that is the quantum entanglement. So quantum entanglement is a phenomena by which a pair of subatomic particles, they are allowed to exist in the shared state, right? So in a shared state they are allowed to exist, and where they have a complementary properties. So by complementary properties, definitely what do we mean? That they actually complement each other in a way that the measuring the property of one particle will automatically complement the property of the other particle as well. So which is the quantum entanglement, if particularly if we talk about this name. So this name was first elucidated by back in 1935 somewhere by the Erwin Schrödinger. So Erwin Schrödinger was the one who first elucidated this particular term, that is quantum entanglement, back in the year 1935, right? So even while studying the quantum entanglement, there is another theory that is called as the Bell inequality, which again came into this limelight while discussing the physics 2022. So their experiment was basically on the quantum entanglement and the Bell inequality. So their study, their research is such a huge, I would say, success in the quantum mechanics, that in the coming times we can have more quantum computers. We can use it in the multiple technology areas, because it is all about the quantum mechanics, right? So their particular idea of the entire quantum entanglement will definitely improve the measurements, and it will build the quantum networks as well, and will establish a secure quantum encrypted communication. And even the timekeeping will also be quite less if we use this particular research method, right? So as of now, if we talk about the Indian winners in the field of physics, we have Sir C.V. Raman, who won the award in the year 1930, and then in 1983 we have Subramaniam Chandrasekhar, who won this prestigious Nobel Prize for Physics. Sir C.V. Raman has won this award for the Raman effect, of course, and Chandrasekhar ji has won this award for his studies in the evolution and the structure of the stars, right? So this is all about the physics. Now next, moving on to the next subject, that is the chemistry, right? So moving on to the chemistry, this year we have again three winners with us, that is Carolyn Bertozzi. She is Carolyn Bertozzi, right? And we have Morten Meldal, he is the Morten Meldal, and K. Barry Sharpless, right? So K. Barry Sharpless, he is an American chemist, and he has won the Nobel Prize for the second time, and he came up with a term that is called as the click chemistry. Click chemistry. So back in the year 2001 also, he has won the Nobel Prize with his fellow mates, William Knowles and the Noyori Ryoji, for developing the first Churchill catalysts. And this year he has won for his term, that is the click chemistry. On the other hand, Meldal, if we speak of Mr. Meldal, he is Mr. Meldal, right? So Meldal, he independently of Sharpless, he came up with a special chemical structure called triazole. Triazole, right? For the triazole, for which he has received the Nobel Prize. And Bertozzi, she took the next step of developing the click reactions that could work inside the living organism, bioorthogonal reactions. Bioorthogonal reactions. That is Carolyn Bertozzi, right? So Bertozzi, she is an American chemist, and of course, she has also recently won the Nobel Prize. So in speaking of this particular concept, that is the click chemistry, it is a minimalistic form of chemistry in which a molecular building blocks can quickly and efficiently snap together. So it is a form of a simple and reliable chemistry where the reactions occur quickly and unwanted by the products, and even the byproducts can be avoided. So this is the basic idea of the click chemistry that we are talking about here. And then on the other hand, we talk about the we talk about the Meldal's theory. So in the 2000s nearly, the Meldal and the Sharpless, which are definitely they are independent of each other, but however their area is quite the same. So they provided the crown of click chemistry, which is the copper catalyzed the azide alkyl cycloaddition, right? So in this particular theory, Meldal, so he founded that adding copper ions to a reaction between an alkyl and an acyl halide, that can create actually a triazole reactions, right? However, they have independently given their theories, but somewhere or the other they are related to each other, right? So if one he has given the chemistry, then on the other hand he has mentioned that if we use the copper ions to make a reaction between the alkyl and acyl halide, so then it will create a triazole reaction, right? And then we are, on the other hand, speaking of the bioorthogonal reaction which is given by the Carolyn, of course, so these reactions, they work inside the living organism without disrupting the normal chemistry of a cell. So this is particularly her research area on which she has received the Nobel Prize, right? So till now, the Indian who has received the Nobel Prize in the chemistry was Venkatraman Ramakrishnan. He is the only Indian to receive this award in the year 2009 for the structure and function of ribosome, along with the Thomas Steers and Ada Yonath, right? So they have received in the field of chemistry. Now moving on further, we have the next category with us, that is the medicine. So in the field of medicine this year we have only one winner, that is Mr. Swante Paubo. Mr. Swante Paubo, for his research in the field of genomes of extinct hominins and human evolution. It's very, very important, right? So according to this, according to his area of studies somewhere, because he has studied the genome sequencing of the extinct species, right? So Homo sapiens, they somewhere or the other, they first appeared in the Africa approximately 3 lakh years ago, while the closest known relatives are said to be Neanderthals. Definitely you must have heard about this name in your history also, in the ancient history, that is Neanderthals, right? So they developed outside the Africa and they were spread across in the Europe and the Western Asia. So after sequencing these Neanderthals genes, so it was found that the archaic genes from our extinct relatives influence the physiology of the present day humans. So definitely somewhere or the other his genes were, when genome sequencing were done, somewhere or the other they had given a present day idea of the human beings, right? So even in 2008, a 40,000-year-old fragment of from a finger bone. So this was basically been gene sequenced, and during that time it was named as the Denisova, because it was discovered from the Denisova cave in the southern part of Siberia. So which is why it was given the name, that is Denisova. That sequencing was given the name of the Denisova, right? So the ancestors somewhere of the other of the modern humans, Neanderthals and Denisovans, they it is a theory which is given by back in 2008 2010, that these Neanderthals and the Denisovans, they existed around around 20,000 years back from now. So this entire biology of study of genes and study of cells from these extinct species, so that is very important to relate it with the existence of the current human beings. So for which the Swante Paubo, he has recently received this particular award category in the medicine field, right? So now because Paubo, he has decided to study the mitochondria. Mitochondria, I'm sure आप लोगों को पता होगा about the mitochondria, which is called as the powerhouse of a cell. So now the extinct species mitochondria will be studied in a cell, right? So mitochondria is called as a powerhouse of cell, and according to the research they found that mitochondria's research will be more helping in actually chalking out the genes categories and the genomes category, whichever suits them, right? So till now if we speak of any Indian who has won the Nobel Prize in the field of medicine, we have Mr. Hargobind Khorana, who was named a co-winner in 1968 for medicine and physiology. And definitely his study was the interpretation of the genetic code and its function in the protein synthesis, right? So he was named as a winner along with his two other counterparts, and this particular was related to the protein synthesis, right? So this was about the medicine winner. Moving on to the next, of course, very important award for us, that is the Peace Award, right? So Peace Award, as you know, that the year 2022 has been shared between Ales Belyatsky, who is the Belarusian pro-democratic activist. Then second, we have Russian Human Rights Organization Memorial, right? And the third one is Ukrainian Human Rights Organization, that is Center for Civil Liberties. So currently, Mr. Ales Belyatsky, he is presently in the jail, and he is the fourth person till now to receive this or to win this award while in a jail. So the earlier three ones were the Liu Xiaobo and Aung San Suu Kyi and the Karl Ositsky. So Karl von Ositsky, Aung San Suu Kyi and Liu Xiaobo, they are the one, and the fourth one is now Ales Belyatsky, who has won the award while they were in the jail, right? So this prize recognizes the contribution for many years promoting the rights to criticize, of course, you know, they want to promote the human rights in the world, and they want to promote the fundamental rights of the citizens, which is why this award is being given to them. Now, speaking of these winners, so Ales Belyatsky, he is one of the initiator of the democracy movement in the Belarus starting from mid 80s, and he is credited with founding the organization called Vyasna, which means spring. It means spring season, right? It means spring. So this organization was started in 1996 in response to the controversial amendment which is made by the president to give more power to the dictator, to give more power to the president, basically, right? So over the period of time, this organization Vyasna, it has evolved, and it has given a broad-based human rights organization that documented and protested against all the authorities. Even in the year 2020, he received the Right Livelihood Award from the Swedish government, which is again it is alternate Nobel Prize, that is called as Right Livelihood Award, right? Then speaking of the second award, that is the Russian Human Rights Organization Memorial. So this particular memorial was established in the year 1987 in the by the human rights activists in the former Soviet Union, and they wanted to ensure that the victims of the communist regime's oppression would never be forgotten. So this particular organization, that is Memorial, it was founded by the Nobel Peace Prize winner Andrei Sakharov and the human rights advocate Ganushkina. So some of the leading activists were there to start this particular organization, and it is described as the one of the largest human rights organization in the Russia, right? Then speaking of the third one, which is the Ukrainian Human Rights Organization, and this name is Center for Civil Liberties, right? So as this name suggests, this is not very old. It was started in Kyiv in the year 2007, and it is of course to bring solidarity in the Ukraine and to reinstate the air of democracy in the Ukraine, right? And after the Russia's invasion from February 2022, the Center for Civil Liberties has actually engaged in lot of efforts to identify and document the Russian war crimes against the Ukrainian civil population, definitely, right? So by now, the two Indians who won the Nobel Peace Prize, and they are Kailash Satyarthi, who won in the year 2014, along with and shared the award with Malala Yousafzai. And at that time, she was the youngest winner. At the age of 17, she won the Nobel Peace Prize to fight against the female rights and female education in Pakistan. The second Indian winner was Mother Teresa. She won in the year 1979. She was an Albanian Indian Catholic nun, and she started a missionary of charity in the year 1950, for which she won the Nobel Peace Prize in the year 1979, right? So this was a brief about the Peace Award. Now moving on further, we have the Economics Prize, definitely. So this year, the winners are the Burns S. Bernard, Douglas Diamond, and Philip Dibwick, right? And these awards are being given for their exemplary work in studying the banks. Firstly, we talk about Ben S. Bernard. So he's an American economist, and he was even the chairperson of the Federal Bank USA. He analyzed the Great Depression of 1930s, which was the worst economic crisis, and through his statistical analysis, he demonstrated that how the failing banks played a pivotal role in the global depression back in 1930s. So he was the head of US Central Bank when 2008 crisis hit, and he was able to put knowledge from his research into the policy. Then on the other hand, we have Douglas Diamond and Philip Dibwick, right? So we have, he is Bernard, he is Diamond, and he is Philip Dibwick, right? So Philip Dibwick and Douglas Diamond say they both work together to develop the theoretical models which explain why banks exist and what are their roles in society, which and even why the banks actually run. So they have given a simple, basically through their study they have tried to give you a simple solution, that if we use the deposit insurance from the government, so then these bank vulnerability can be resolved. So when the depositors know that the state has guaranteed their money, the state has guaranteed the bank's money, so they no longer need to rush to the bank, whenever, as soon as the rumor starts ki the banks are going to run out or they're running out of cash. So when you know that the banks already, the money is already backed by the government, backed by the deposit insurance, definitely you don't need to be worried about your money in the bank. So this is the basically these economists have presented a solution to the bank vulnerability. So till now the Indians who have won the economics Nobel Prize are Amartya Sen for welfare economics in the year 1998, and he is one of my favorite economists of all the time, definitely. And secondly, we have Abhijit Banerjee alongside his wife Esther Duflo and David Kramer, who won this award in the year 2019 for his works in eradicating the poverty or for the poverty alleviation programs, right? And the last but not the least, we have the literature. So for the literature, we have the French author Annie Ernaux, who won this particular award, right? So this year, Annie Ernaux, she won this award for the courage and clinical acuity with which she uncovers the roots, estrangements, and collective restraints of personal memories. So she was born in France, and she is a coveted French, whatever you can say, she's a renowned person in this field of writings, and she is even nominated for the Booker International Prize also. And some of her important works are A Woman's Story, A Girl's Story, Getting Lost, Happening, and even her first book came out in the year 1974 by the name of Cleaned Out, right? So uh, the Years was the book which was actually shortlisted for the Booker International Prize. So till now, we have the only Indian who has won the Literature Nobel Prize, that is our of course, uh, Rabindranath Tagore again. And he is the one who has ever received in literature back in the year 1913, right? So that was the brief about the literature also. Now coming to the nominations, how the nominations are there. So interestingly, there are no self nominations in this particular award. So the nomination forms are sent by the Nobel Committee to about 3,000 individuals, usually in the September, the year before the prizes are awarded, right? So all the nominations, then the records for a prize, they are sealed for 50 years from awarding of the prize. This is very, very unique thing that definitely, we get to know that for about 50 years their nomination records are actually sealed. For 50 years we don't know that who all were nominated. Of course there are some leaks and links we get to know, but definitely from an official source we never get to know who were nominated in that particular year until the 50 years of this prize has been surpassed, right? So then, speaking of the prize presentation, so the prize awarded in the Sweden ceremonies are held at the Stockholm Concert Hall, with the Nobel banquet following immediately at the Stockholm City Hall, right? So, however, the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony has been held at the Norwegian Nobel Institute from 1905 to 46, and at the auditorium of University of Oslo till 1989, but currently it is being presented at the Oslo City Hall. So only the Peace Prize is presented at the Oslo City Hall. Rest all the 5 awards are presented in the Sweden ceremonies, which are held at the Stockholm Concert Hall. So this is important, right? So prize presentation is important, where they are presented, right? Then lastly, moving ahead to some of the quick facts. So the youngest person to receive Nobel Prize, Malala Yousafzai, and the oldest person to receive is John B. Goodenough, who received at the age of 97, right? And he received in the field of chemistry in the year 2019. However, there are some other interesting facts also, like besides the Indians who have received, we have one family you all know, that the Curie family, which is, I hope that you know of Marie Curie, who received the prize in physics in the year 1903 and then chemistry in the year 1911. Her husband Pierre Curie shared the award in 1903 with her in physics. Their daughter Irene Juliette Curie, she received in chemistry in the year 1935, together with her husband Frederick Juliet Curie, right? So the entire Curie families, they are the Nobel Prize winners, and it is even said that USA is the maximum producers of the Nobel Prize starting from 1901 till now. So even there are some Indians also who are following the this either the marriage duo, for example Abhijit Banerjee and Esther Deflo, and then even we have the some family link, CV Raman receiving in 1930, and then he was the uncle of Subramanyam Chandrasekhar, who received the award in the year 1983 in the again in the same field, that is physics, right? So this the uncle and nephew Jodi has actually won this award. So these are some of the quick, very strange facts about this. And earlier also we have discussed the 4 persons who have received when they were in the while they were in the jail. Also there are some important thing to remember. For example, it is not awarded posthumously, right? However, if the award is announced and before presenting it, if the person dies, right, so then it is given to the family definitely. And even there are several times there are some refusals and constraints also, but then again that is a long story. But yes, when we speak of posthumously, so we are saying that exceptionally, in certain situation, when it is announced but the person died before accepting it, before the before the ceremony of the Nobel Prize, then definitely the person will be given, or the prize will be given to any of the child or even to the spouse, right? So this is all about the Nobel Prize. And even in the history it has happened. Even the Nobel Prize medals were auctioned twice, right? So these are some of the quick facts that that always come up in the exams. So it has even been auctioned twice. And even there were times when people have tried to even they tried to revoke it. But yes, according to the guidelines, you are not allowed to repeal the decision of the Nobel Committee. So if once it is given, it is given. There is no refusal, there is no revocation, there is no repeal to the decision body who is giving the Nobel Prize. However, there are certain controversies also related to the I would say related to the committees. And but more or less they are being fairly accepted by people and by the winners definitely, right? So that is all for today, guys. I hope you liked this session. Please do share it among your friends who are also preparing for any competitive exam. Nobel Prize Nobel Prize winners and the special facts about this particular award has always been asked in any competitive exam, and it is like a forever topic for all the exams that you will be appearing in your life, right? So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. So we'll see you next week with another episode with another topic. Thank you so much.